Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have another cool chess puzzle to share with you. This one is the work of two composers, Filip Bondarenko and Mark Liburkin. Put their minds together and produced this one in 1950. It's white to move. Feel free, as usual, to pause the video, maybe step away for some time from the video, and set this one up on one of your own boards. Spend some time with this and, well, see if you can find its solution. All right. First things first, this knight's under fire. He needs to pick a square, and his options are down to 2. He needs to be in a position to next go to f3 and sacrifice himself for this pawn that's just a step away. The correct square to go to is h4. This is the first key move. Going to e1 would subject the knight to pressure by the bishop, and there's no reason to allow this valuable tempo. So after knight to h4, king g1, knight f3, that's a fork, and now we have knight takes pawn. King takes knight, and from here, the next key move is to simply push the pawn. Now, in reply, let's first consider the move bishop to one of these three. Might as well just go one step. Don't want to, let's say, get in the way of the king throwing a punch at the bishop, for example, if he went to d4. Let's just say bishop to b2, preparing to stop the pawn once he's on e6. Let's see what would happen after bishop to b2. e6, the bishop must go here to stop the pawn. And now the king, at this point, makes a run. He races towards the a7 pawn. King e5. There's no way to improve the bishop, so it's time to improve the king. King g3, king d5, king f4, king c6, king e5, king b7, and after king to d6, the key move here is to not take the pawn, but rather play e7. What's the issue with taking the pawn? Well, after king to c7, there's no way to get the pawn, or to get the king out of the pawn's way so that it can promote. This would be a drawn position. All white could do is go back and forth. If the pawn ever moves, you take the pawn. And if the king keeps going back and forth, you can keep going back and forth with your king, or even the bishop from here. Actually, simplest for black would be to just bounce back and forth on these two squares for forever, and it will be a draw. The trick, however, at this moment right here is when the king is on d6, you don't take the pawn, but rather push. And this deflects the king away, so that now when you take the pawn, you will be able to next get out of the pawn's way, and then promote soon. Just 2 moves. We're not quite done with the solution, because we have one other key variation to cover. And that is, after the e5 move, suppose bishop b2 is not played. Suppose black doesn't try to get on this diagonal. Suppose the bishop captures the pawn. Now what's going to happen? If king takes bishop, king g3, king d6, king f4, we have this little race towards the corner. And what's going to happen is it will be a draw. King a8, king c8, and the king can never get out of this pawn's way. So what's the trick to this one? Some of you have probably already noted what the trick is. The trick is to not take the bait. Don't take the bishop. Instead, king e6 is the key move in this wonderful study. What's the point? Well, this bishop will be getting in the way of the king, and black will not be winning this race to the corner now. The bishop is simply useless. The king gets over here, picks up the pawn, goes to b7, and there's nothing you can do to stop this. The king really wants to make use of this square. Too bad, the bishop's in the way. Gotta go around, and you're just one tempo short from boxing the king in the corner. The bishop just cannot stop this pawn from promoting. What a cool study. I really like studies like this because you could kind of see an application in regular games. This kind of a structure in situations where, even having a bishop is just not going to be good enough if you have a superior king position. This king will be able to hunt the pawn down, get out of the pawn's way, and then be able to push through. And this pawn here kind of gets in the way. Bishop can't control a7. So, yeah, an interesting study to say the least. The key move here, the one that really captured my attention, of course, the star move of this composition is, we could very easily scoop the bishop up on our way to the corner, but he's pretty much poison. We say no thank you, and he eventually obstructs the king's little race to the corner. Anyhow, as usual, feel free to leave any feedback to this composition in the comment section below, and I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe even took a little bit of education away from this one. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.